Chosen one. Something within you has been stirring, hasn't it? A strange sense, as if your spirit is hearing a sound no one else can hear. The nights have felt heavier, the days uneasy. Don't ignore it. This isn't anxiety, it's a signal from heaven. When God is about to unveil truth, He begins by shaking the spirit of the one He has chosen. You've noticed it. The stillness around you doesn't feel peaceful anymore. It feels loaded, like creation itself is waiting for something to happen. Conversations replay in your mind. Compliments that once felt warm now sound hollow. The smallest moments suddenly carry weight. That's not coincidence. God is awakening your discernment. Because the season of exposure has begun. Light doesn't just reveal your path, it reveals the hearts walking beside you. When God marks your life, the anointing draws not only favor, but also friction. The same glow that attracts blessings also exposes shadows. The smiles around you may stay the same, but their motives start to shift. Don't panic. When truth is about to emerge, everything false becomes uncomfortable in your presence. There was once another chosen one, a woman who loved her sister deeply. She shared her prayers, her visions, her secrets. They dreamed together, but when blessings began to bloom in her life, the air between them changed. What once felt like sisterhood began to feel like silence. Every door she tried to open suddenly slammed shut. For a long time, she blamed herself. Then, one day, God whispered, "Listen again." She overheard what she was never meant to hear, and in that heartbreak came freedom. Because when God exposes, He doesn't do it to humiliate, He does it to liberate. Imagine a moonlit lake at midnight, so calm it mirrors the sky. Beneath the surface lie broken branches and forgotten stones. Then comes a breeze, gentle, invisible. The reflection shatters. What was hidden beneath begins to rise. That's your spirit right now. The breath of God is moving, disturbing the surface of your peace, so the buried things can be brought into the light. You don't need to expose anyone yourself. God doesn't need your hands to reveal His justice. Your task is to stay pure, stay watchful, and stay still. When the Almighty uncovers, no hand can cover again. The prophet declared in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7, "The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in Him." Let that truth settle deep within you. God never promised a life without conflict, but He promised safety within the storm. Every hidden plot being revealed is not meant to wound you, it's meant to shield you. Every uncomfortable truth is divine protection, wearing the mask of pain. Chosen one. Do not dismiss this message as coincidence. You are hearing this for a reason. Heaven is confirming that what you feel is real. God has seen everything, and He is already moving on your behalf. Prepare your heart. What has been concealed will soon stand in the open. If this word resonates in your spirit, like, share, and comment 77 as an act of faith. Subscribe so you won't miss what heaven is about to reveal next. Because this is only the beginning of what God is unfolding. Chosen one. When revelation begins, peace often feels like it's breaking. But what if this isn't destruction? What if it's construction? Sometimes God must tear down the false foundation before He builds the true one. What's shaking in your life is not meant to end you, it's meant to anchor you. The noise around you is confirmation, that heaven is rearranging things behind the scenes. You might not see it yet, but clarity is forming. God is not showing you people's hearts so you can hate them. He's showing you so you can heal differently this time. Don't rush back to fix what He's separating. What leaves you in this season is not rejection, it's refinement. The divine light in you has grown too bright for certain rooms that once felt safe. Think of gold in the furnace. It burns. It bubbles. It loses shape, but that's how it becomes pure. You, too, are being refined by truth. Exposure isn't meant to embarrass you. It's the fire that prepares you for your next elevation. Every revelation hurts before it heals. But soon you'll see that pain was prophecy in disguise. And when you finally walk out of this storm, you won't just have clearer eyes, you'll have cleaner hands. The same people who doubted you will witness that your peace was not ignorance. It was evidence that God was fighting for you. Stay still. Stay holy. The winds that once felt against you are now carrying you forward. This exposure is your beginning, not your ending. Chosen one. The greatest tests often come from the closest places. The enemy rarely approaches wearing horns. He comes cloaked in familiarity. The sting of betrayal cuts deeper when it comes from the same bloodline that once swore to protect you. You've begun to notice this truth, haven't you? The subtle shifts, the quiet withdrawal, the conversations that fall silent when you enter the room. This is not paranoia. It is discernment awakening. Betrayal in the bloodline is one of the hardest lessons a chosen one must learn. Because it's not just the breaking of trust, it's the breaking of illusion. Family is supposed to be safety. But sometimes, the serpent slithers through shared DNA. Jealousy doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers sweetly, wearing the face of love. Your sister, by blood or by spirit, once seemed to stand beside you. You laughed together. Shared secrets. Shared prayers. You believed she was cheering you on, but something in your spirit has been telling you otherwise. You sense it when blessings come your way and her smile doesn't reach her eyes. You feel it when silence follows your victories. That's the Holy Spirit alerting you, not to hate her, but to understand what is really happening. This battle within the family, where love and rivalry dance in the same heart, began long before you were born. Cain and Abel, Jacob and Esau, Joseph and his brothers, all stories showing that envy can hide in sacred places. The same spirit that drove Joseph's brothers to sell him still walks today, dressing itself in modern forms: sarcasm, indifference, false concern. Joseph once shared his dream, thinking it was safe to speak among brothers. Instead, that dream revealed who truly loved him and who only loved his silence. His destiny provoked what was already there: insecurity, resentment, competition. Your life mirrors that pattern. The more you grow, the more it exposes hearts around you. God is showing you, not everyone with your last name is meant to walk into your next level. There is a saying, the dagger that wounds deepest is the one wrapped in a hug. That's what betrayal in the bloodline feels like. It doesn't announce itself. It seeps through conversation, comparison, or subtle guilt. Yet even this is not beyond God's control. For what the enemy means for evil, the Lord repurposes for revelation. You must understand this. Jealousy is not about you. It's about the reflection your life casts. When someone is disconnected from their own calling, your obedience becomes their discomfort. Your victories become their mirror. They are not angry at your success. They are tormented by their stagnation. Recognize this without pride, but also without apology. There's a woman in the scriptures, Miriam, the sister of Moses, who once spoke against her own brother. She envied his favor, questioned his authority. Yet even then, God defended Moses without him ever raising a voice. The Lord himself dealt with Miriam's heart. That is what God is about to do for you. You won't need to prove who you are. Heaven will do it for you. Think of it like a garden. Two plants grow from the same soil, but one stretches toward the light faster. Instead of competing, they're meant to share the sunlight. Yet if one shades the other, the gardener must prune, not to destroy, but to save the health of both. The pruning you're feeling now, this exposure, this separation, is divine gardening. You may ask, why my sister? Lord, why my own family? Because betrayal from the outside wouldn't have purified your heart like this. The pain that pierces you most deeply is often the pain that shapes your destiny most powerfully. God chose the hardest vessel to test your compassion. He allowed it not to break you, but to teach you to see through deception without losing love. According to the writings in the book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 6, their hearts are like an oven. They approach with intrigue. Their passion smolders all night. In the morning, it blazes like fire. That is how hidden envy works. It smolders quietly until the right moment. But remember, fire cannot burn forever without fuel. The moment you withdraw your energy, your attention, your emotional reaction, that flame begins to die. That's your power. Do not curse your sister. You are being elevated to a higher understanding, one that sees pain not as punishment, but as purification. This betrayal, though cruel, is your invitation to spiritual maturity. Soon, you will thank God for this unveiling, because through it, you will learn that loyalty is not defined by words, but by alignment of spirit. Chosen one. Jealousy is a quiet assassin. It doesn't strike in daylight, it grows in whispers, behind polite smiles and well-meaning words. It studies you. It mimics you. It claps when you win in public, but sighs in private. That's how the spirit of jealousy operates, through the familiar, through the comfortable, through those who should have protected your name. You might think, why would my own sister envy me? I have struggled just like her. But jealousy is rarely logical. It's not about what you have, it's about who you are. It's the unseen grace that covers you, the unexplainable favor that follows you, the peace you carry even after storms. That's what unsettles the spirit of envy, your endurance. Your light doesn't just shine, it exposes what others try to hide. There's a story about a chosen one named Mara. She was quiet, kind, always giving. Her sister, fierce and ambitious, loved being in control. But when Mara's small prayers began turning into visible blessings, that love turned sour. Her sister started to warn her about pride, to correct her constantly. It sounded spiritual, but it was poison wrapped in scripture. Mara didn't fight back. She prayed. And one night, the Holy Spirit said, "Stop defending yourself. I will speak for you." Within weeks, truth surfaced, and her peace returned. That's the power of stillness. Jealousy feeds on attention. It thrives when you react. But when you stand silent under God's covering, every false narrative begins to crumble. The very ones who tried to twist your story will one day have to admit they saw the hand of God on your life. As it is written in the book of James, chapter 3, verse 16, "For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there." No, that's what you've been sensing lately, the confusion, the small clashes, the inexplicable heaviness after being around certain people. You weren't imagining it, you were discerning it. The spirit of jealousy creates chaos not because it's powerful, but because it's disparity. It knows it can't destroy you, so it tries to distract you. You may have noticed that your joy makes others restless. Your peace feels like an insult to their turmoil. But you are not called to shrink. You are not called to dim your light to soothe their insecurity. The world doesn't need smaller versions of the chosen. It needs illuminated ones who refuse to apologize for their calling. Think of the stars. They do not compete. They simply shine, each holding space in the vast sky. The jealous heart is the one that counts brightness instead of purpose. And yet, no star ever loses light, because another one burns beside it. So why should you? If your sister's heart has turned cold toward you, pray for her, but do not chase her. The Lord will handle what your hands cannot. Every heart poisoned by envy is still one prayer away from freedom. But your mission now is to protect your peace. Guard your spirit as you would guard a flame in the wind. You may feel isolated right now, but heaven isolates before it elevates. The silence you feel is not absence, it's strategy. God is creating distance not to punish you, but to prepare you for visibility. The higher He takes you, the less noise you can afford to carry. Chosen one. Understand this. What they envy most isn't your blessings, it's your resilience. The favor on your life cost you pain they never saw. They covet your light, but not your battles. Let that knowledge free you from bitterness. You were never competing, you were becoming. And now, before you move on, let your spirit agree with heaven. Comment, "I'm covered." It's more than a phrase, it's a declaration. You're affirming that no jealousy, no gossip, no hidden curse can touch the one shielded by God's hand. Every word of envy dissolves when you stand in the truth of who you are. Chosen one. Your peace is proof of divine defense. Don't let anything steal it. The exposure has begun, but so has your vindication. Chosen one. Remember when you comment those two words. You're not just typing, you're testifying. "I'm covered" isn't a reaction. It's resistance. It's a shield you raise in the spirit, telling every invisible force, you cannot touch what God has claimed. When heaven hears those words spoken in faith, it surrounds you with protection stronger than any defense you could build yourself. So, speak it with confidence. Let it echo beyond the screen, into your atmosphere, into your home, into every place your name has been mentioned in envy. The moment you declare it, peace begins to settle again. That's not coincidence, it's covenant. Chosen one. When light confronts darkness, it never asks for permission. It simply arrives, and everything false begins to tremble. That is what's happening in your world right now. The illumination within you has grown too bright for the shadows hiding inside your family. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? The people who once felt safe suddenly seem different. Their words heavier, their energy shifting. This is the collision of light and hidden darkness. It always begins close to home. You've likely felt the tension rising for some time, like the air before a storm. Conversations end abruptly. Jokes turn into veiled accusations. You sense what isn't being said louder than the words themselves. That's not anxiety, it's discernment. Your spirit is reacting to spiritual warfare disguised as ordinary conflict. The same love that once held your family together is now revealing fractures long ignored. Do not be dismayed. Light never enters to destroy it, enters to divide truth from pretense. What God is doing now is not punishment, it's purification. The darkness in your lineage can no longer coexist with the destiny on your life. God has declared a separation, and though it may ache, it is sacred, as spoken in the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Those words are not just history, they are your inheritance. You are being called to stand in spiritual authority, to declare where your loyalty belongs. That declaration is not made with loud arguments or family feuds. It's made through obedience, through purity, through quiet persistence in the presence of God. When light confronts darkness, the confrontation isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's silence that breaks the spell. Your refusal to engage in gossip becomes warfare. Your decision to forgive becomes rebellion against bitterness. Every time you choose peace over provocation, you dismantle a pattern that's been haunting your bloodline for generations. There's a story of a young woman named Seela who lived under constant tension with her sister. They loved each other, but envy hung between them like smoke. One evening, after another heated argument, Seela didn't respond in anger. She simply walked outside, lifted her hands, and whispered, "Lord, make me light, even if it exposes what's dark." From that day, something shifted. Within months, hidden lies surfaced, and truth rearranged the family. The confrontation wasn't hers, it was God's. That's the kind of authority you carry now. You don't need to fight flesh and blood. You are wrestling with spiritual forces that fear the light you represent. Every prayer you whisper is a strike of lightning across the darkness that's lingered too long in your lineage. Think of it like a house left in darkness for years. The moment you flip the switch, dust floats in the beam, cobwebs glisten, and things long hidden become visible. It looks messy at first, but that's the beginning of cleansing. You can't clean what you refuse to see. God is exposing patterns, generational cycles of manipulation, jealousy, and secrecy. He's showing you that what you experienced with your sister wasn't isolated, it was inherited. You were chosen to end it. That's why the warfare has been so personal, because you are the interruption. You're the one who breaks the repetition. Sometimes, the confrontation comes through exposure. Other times, through distance. Don't be afraid of either. God may separate you for a time, so He can sanctify you completely. It's not rejection, it's preservation. The silence between you and certain family members is the sound of heaven rewriting your story. The darkness in them might resist your light, but it cannot extinguish it. Light doesn't argue with shadow, it simply shines until shadow disappears. That's your assignment now, to remain radiant. Even when misunderstood, to love. Even when unloved, to stay true. Even when surrounded by falsehood, chosen one. This confrontation is not the end of your family, it's the beginning of its redemption. Every secret that trembles under your light is a testimony waiting to be rewritten. Stand still in your calling. Keep shining. The light in you is not fragile, it's divine. And it was born for this exact moment. And when the light finally settles, you'll realize it didn't come to ruin anything. It came to reveal what was worth saving. Some things survived the glare. Some didn't. But now you know which is which. That's freedom. So, walk gently through what remains. Let love guide what light has already purified. Your steps will feel new because they are. This path has never been walked before. It belongs to the healed version of you. Chosen one. Pause for a moment. Take a breath. Feel how the air around you has changed since truth began to unfold. The heaviness that once clouded your spirit is beginning to lift. You are seeing things more clearly now, not because life became easier, but because your spirit has grown stronger. That's how God works. He doesn't remove the storm. He trains your heart to rest within it. The Lord has been whispering not only warnings but wisdom. You're learning that discernment is not suspicion, it's protection. Every revelation you've received so far has been preparation. Heaven never exposes without the intention to elevate. And now, you're standing at the threshold between understanding and application, where the word you've heard must become the way you live. According to what is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23, Abu Va'alels, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Endo and 4. That's your calling in this season. Guard your heart, not with walls of fear, but with the gates of wisdom. The heart is not meant to be hard, it's meant to be holy. You are learning how to keep your compassion without keeping the chaos. You can love people without letting their poison inside your spirit. There's a story told of a man who carried a lamp through a long, dark valley. He had little oil left, but he used what he had to keep the flame alive. Others walked with him for a while, but left when their lamps went out. They mocked him for wasting his last drops of oil. But at the end of the valley, when morning came, his lamp was still burning, and that same light guided others home. That's you, chosen one. You have been the light bearer in your family, the one who refuses to let darkness win. Every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've shed, it has been oil for your lamp. You've carried the flame, even when no one thanked you for it. But here's the truth. Light cannot sustain itself without oil. You see, the oil doesn't just represent provision, it represents partnership. Every time someone gives, supports, or shares, they are pouring a drop of oil into that flame so it can keep shining. The messages you've been receiving, the words that have strengthened you on hard nights, exist because others before you poured their oil too. This is not about pressure, it's about participation. When you give, whether through prayer, sharing this message, subscribing, or donating, you are not paying for blessings. You are simply saying, Lord, I believe in the light you're spreading through this. You are fueling the very flame that once helped you find your way. Think of it like a garden of lanterns. Every like is a spark. Every share, a gust of wind carrying the light to another hilltop. Every subscription, a decision to walk together down this illuminated path. And every donation, a drop of sacred oil poured into the wick so the glow never fades. None of these are obligations. They are echoes of gratitude, free and alive. So if this message has spoken to your soul, if it has reminded you that you're not alone, consider pouring a little oil back into this flame. You can do that by liking, sharing, or subscribing so that more chosen ones can hear the voice of God calling them awake. And if you feel led, you may also donate a gentle act of faith, a way of saying, keep the fire burning. Your support becomes part of the testimony It tells heaven, I believe in this work of light. It tells darkness, this voice will not go silent. No amount is too small. What matters is the heart behind it. Remember how the widow's 2 coins caught Jesus' attention, not because of their value, but because of her intention. Chosen one. Nothing here is demanded of you. It's an open invitation, a chance to participate in something eternal. When your heart feels peace, that's heaven's whisper saying, yes. Oh, and as you do, may the oil of joy overflow in your own life. May the same light you help sustain become the one guiding your next steps. For every act of faith, seen or unseen, heaven releases grace in return. So, if this message found you at the right time, like this message, share it forward. Subscribe to stay connected to the flow of revelation. And, if your heart stirs, donate as your drop of oil, because one flame, when kept alive, can light 1,000. You are part of something divine, something larger than sight, but deeply felt by heaven itself. The light you carry is sacred. Keep it burning. Chosen one. Sometimes God reveals not only what others did to you, but what He's protecting you from next. Exposure is never just about the past. It's also a warning for the future. After the unveiling comes the cleansing. You've seen the truth. Now, heaven invites you to separate from what was never meant to follow you into your next season. You may have noticed how quiet it's been. Old friends aren't calling. Family members who once demanded your presence suddenly don't reach out. Don't mistake this silence for rejection. It's divine quarantine. God has pulled you aside because He's preparing to reintroduce you in purity. Some people can't hear your name in this season without their hearts convulsing, because your light reminds them of what they refuse to become. Let them go. Let God finish the detox of your circle. When you pray now, you may feel fewer words, but more power. That's what happens when you stop praying from emotion and start praying from authority. You no longer beg God to fix them. You ask Him to filter what is not of Him. Every hidden alliance, every masked intention, He's cleansing it. Layer by layer. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Haggai. Chapter 2. Verse 9. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. That means what's ahead of you will outshine what was behind you. The loss you mourned wasn't subtraction, it was refinement. The people who left weren't punishment, they were preparation. You can't build a temple of truth on foundations that still echo with deceit. This is your spiritual renovation. The walls that once hid betrayal are being torn down so God can rebuild you from the inside out. Picture this. A sculptor chisels marble, striking hard against what seems solid. Each strike removes a piece that never belonged to the final image. That's your life right now. Every exposure, every separation, every uncomfortable truth, it's a divine strike carving you into shape. You are becoming art in the hands of the Master. Do not rush the process. Cleansing requires stillness. The enemy will try to provoke you to speak, to prove, to justify. Don't fall for it. Silence can be more prophetic than speech. Let your healing speak for you. Let your peace testify that you've been touched by heaven. There was once a man named Elior, a chosen one who lived in a city where everyone knew his sister's influence. She had charm, wealth, and power. And for years, Elior walked in her shadow. But when God called him higher, the relationship fractured. She began to whisper, to manipulate, to undermine his name. Elio stayed quiet, not out of fear, but obedience. And in time, her lies exposed themselves, without him ever lifting a hand. God not only vindicated him, but gave him favor in the very places she tried to close. That's what's coming to you. The cleansing is the proof of coming glory. You don't lose anything that was meant to stay. You are not being emptied, you're being refined, so the new oil can pour freely. You may feel isolated now, but this isolation is incubation. What's being formed in you will outlast every false bond. People will soon say, "You've changed." Smile when they do. Change was the point. Sometimes God cleans your atmosphere before he releases your assignment. You can't carry the weight of your next level with old distractions attached. The Spirit is decluttering your soul, removing emotional clutter so your discernment can breathe again. That's why this feels lonely. It's spiritual surgery. Chosen one, let this be your assurance. When God cleanses, he also refills. What's leaving your life is making space for something new, divine partnerships, authentic connections, and peace that no betrayal can touch. The old cycle is closing. The door that was once your prison is now your exit. Comment 999. Yes. Type it not as a superstition, but as a sign of surrender. That number marks completion in the Spirit, the closing of a chapter, and the birth of renewal. When you comment it, you're not just interacting, you're declaring, "I'm done with cycles that break me. I'm stepping into the fullness of who I am." And it's not magic, it's alignment. Heaven reads faith through action. Each 999 becomes a digital amen, a whisper to the unseen realm saying, "Cleanse me, Lord, and make me new." And so, chosen one, stay still a little longer. Let the chiseling continue. Let the sculptor finish his masterpiece. Because when the dust settles, the same ones who doubted your purity will see the reflection of God shining through you. You are being cleansed, not erased. You are being refined, not reduced. And when this is done, your life will carry a fragrance that no betrayal can overpower, the scent of one who has been purified by truth. Chosen one. The mask is slipping. What was hidden behind smiles and polite gestures is beginning to show its true form. You've started to recognize patterns, repeated words, subtle control, small manipulations that once felt normal but now feel wrong. That's the Spirit sharpening your perception. You're not imagining it. You're seeing with spiritual eyes now. And those eyes no longer tolerate disguise. There's something sacred about truth. It doesn't shout, it reveals. And once you've seen, you can't unsee. You've stepped into that painful, holy place between understanding and grief. You can't pretend anymore. And that's what separates the chosen from the comfortable. God didn't call you to blindness. He called you to clarity. And clarity always costs comfort. The mask always falls in stages. At first, it slips through words, the way someone suddenly corrects you more harshly than usual, or subtly belittles your ideas while smiling. Then it shows in behavior, the withdrawal of warmth, the exaggeration of your flaws, the quiet competition that replaces love. Finally, it manifests in full, a heart no longer capable of hiding its jealousy. That's when you realize this was never just human conflict. It was spiritual warfare disguised as family tension. You may wonder, Why did I not see it sooner? Because love blinded you. And God honored that. He allowed you to see the best in them until it was time to see the truth in them. Every revelation has divine timing. God never exposes before your heart is strong enough to handle what He shows. The moment you were ready to release, He allowed your eyes to open. There's a strange kind of silence that follows exposure. It's not the silence of peace, it's the silence of recognition. You stop defending people who no longer deserve your protection. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing apologies that will never come. That silence isn't emptiness, it's healing. In that quiet, God begins to rebuild your trust, not in others, but in discernment. You begin to believe your spirit again. The intuition you once doubted becomes your compass. The unease you ignored becomes your warning. You start walking lighter, not because life changed, but because you finally stopped dragging what wasn't yours to carry. We find in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 12, verse 3, "Yet you know me, Lord. You see me and test my thoughts about you. Drag them off like sheep to be butchered. Set them apart for the day of slaughter." Oh, those are heavy words, but they reveal something powerful. God not only sees betrayal, He sets it on a schedule. Nothing escapes His attention. Every deceitful act has its appointed hour of unveiling. You don't need to demand justice. It's already in motion. Heaven has a timeline for truth. Think of the forest after a fire. Everything looks ruined. At first, the trees blackened, the air heavy with ash. But beneath that soil, new life waits. The fire was never the end. It was the clearing. Likewise, this exposure may feel like devastation, but it's actually the preparation for regeneration. The ashes are the proof that what was false can't grow again. You may still love your sister. That doesn't make you weak. Love after betrayal is not foolishness. It's evidence of God's nature alive in you. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It means release. You're not excusing her actions. You're freeing yourself from their weight. Love doesn't mean you invite her back into the same space. It means you've stopped letting bitterness rent space in your soul. When you walk through this part of your journey, it's okay to mourn. Mourn the version of her you thought existed. Mourn the memories that now sting. Mourn the laughter that wasn't real. But after the mourning, lift your head. You've survived what was meant to silence you. The heartbreak that once felt unbearable has become holy ground, the place where God proved you could lose everything false and still not lose yourself. You've entered a new rhythm now, one of observation, not reaction. You don't respond to provocations anymore. You watch with patience. You recognize when the enemy tries to bait you back into emotional chaos, and you walk away. That is strength disguised as quiet. That is wisdom dressed as peace. Chosen one. You've come far. The exposure was painful, but it was also sacred. It forced you to see who they were, and even more importantly, who you are. And the more the masks around you fall, the more your true identity rises. You're no longer the wounded one. You're the witness of God's justice unfolding in real time. Chosen one. Exposure is rarely sudden. It unfolds like dawn, quiet, gradual, certain. At first, you see only hints, the faint outline of truth against the horizon of deception. Then, little by little, light pushes back the darkness until everything hidden becomes visible. That's where you are now, the edge between night and morning, Heaven has decided that what was whispered in secret will be shouted from the rooftops, not for humiliation, but for healing. When God exposes, it's never chaos, it's choreography. Every event, every misstep, every conversation you thought was random was part of His design to bring truth into the open. The moment you stopped trying to fix things on your own, Heaven began arranging the reveal. That's how divine justice works, quietly, but with precision. There is something humbling about watching God expose what you could never prove. You prayed for peace, not vengeance. You asked for clarity, not confrontation. Yet somehow, the truth started surfacing without your effort. People who once doubted your integrity begin to notice patterns. Those who listen to gossip start to question the source. Heaven doesn't shout it, simply turns the light on. And darkness scrambles for cover. As revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 6. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. That is exactly what's happening now. Your vindication is dawning. The very light that once felt harsh on your pain is now warming your soul. God is showing you that time exposes more than anger ever could. While you were silent, He was speaking through circumstances. While you were hurting, He was building your testimony. You may not see the full picture yet, but signs are appearing everywhere. A secret conversation comes to light. A mutual friend confesses what was said behind your back. A piece of information finds its way to you without your searching. That's divine timing at work, the rhythm of heaven's justice playing softly in the background of your life. Do you see how it happens? Exposure doesn't need spectacle. It moves through ordinary events that suddenly align. The lie that once seemed strong begins to collapse under its own weight. The mask that once held power begins to crack under truth's pressure. What once terrified you now sets you free. It's easy to misinterpret exposure as destruction, but it's really revelation. God isn't ruining lives, He's restoring order. He's showing every heart where it truly stands. The truth isn't cruel, it's cleansing. The same way the tide pulls debris back into the sea, God is sweeping away everything that doesn't belong in your destiny. There's a calm that follows exposure, not the shallow quiet of denial, but the deep peace of completion. You no longer need to explain yourself. The ones meant to see the truth are beginning to see it, and the ones who refused to never mattered in the first place. That's liberation, when you realize you don't owe an explanation to those who thrive on confusion. In this season, God is not only revealing others, He's revealing you to yourself. You're learning how much strength silence holds. You're learning that peace can be louder than protest. You're learning that forgiveness is not about letting them win, it's about refusing to let their actions define your next chapter. Imagine a field after rain. The ground looks messy, the soil uneven, but beneath that chaos, seeds are swelling, roots deepening. That's what your life looks like now. The rain of revelation has made everything muddy on the surface, but underneath, growth has already begun. You may feel weary, but heaven sees harvest coming. Chosen one. Don't rush to rebuild just yet. Let the light settle. Let the truth breathe. Reconstruction is holy work, and holy work takes time. Don't invite anyone back into the space God just cleared. Let Him write new names, new alignments, new beginnings. You'll know when it's safe again. Peace will confirm it. Your story is shifting from accusation to affirmation. You are no longer the misunderstood one. You are the proven one. Every hidden agenda that rose against you has become proof of your divine protection. The tables are turning, not by your hand, but by God's. And as the dawn continues to rise, you'll begin to see what all of this was for. Exposure was never punishment. It was preparation. You had to see truth clearly so you could walk freely. You had to lose the illusion so you could gain your identity. Chosen one. The light is no longer your enemy. It's your inheritance. Walk in it. Chosen one. Revelation brings confrontation, not always with people, but with the truth itself. Now that light has come, you can't pretend not to see. You stand face to face with what was hidden, the disappointment, the betrayal, the manipulation that wore your sister's smile. It's heavy, isn't it? Seeing clearly costs you the comfort of blindness, but the same light that exposes also heals. You've walked through the valley of confusion long enough. What once felt like chaos is now becoming clarity. The fog is lifting, and the pieces finally make sense. You can trace every strange coincidence, every delay, every loss, and realize it wasn't random. It was all leading you here, to this holy moment of understanding. This is where truth asks you to choose. Will you carry resentment, or will you carry revelation? Because both are heavy. But only one will take you forward. God didn't show you what He showed you so you could sink in bitterness. He revealed it so you could rise in wisdom. There's a quiet bravery in acceptance. It's not loud, it's steady. You no longer need to argue with lies or defend your name. Time will do that. Heaven will do that. All you need to do now is breathe and let the truth stand on its own feet. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 12, verse 19, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." These words are not a call to weakness, they are a call to release. God isn't asking you to forget. He's asking you to stop fighting battles that are already settled in the courts of heaven. When you stop defending yourself, He starts displaying His justice. When you release the grip, He takes control. You might remember a moment when your sister's words cut deep, when her tone shifted from warmth to coldness. It replayed in your mind like a broken record, didn't it? You tried to forgive, then found yourself angry again. Forgiveness doesn't happen once, it happens in layers. And each layer you surrender becomes another layer of armor around your heart. That's how God strengthens you, through surrender, not retaliation. You're learning now that forgiveness is not permission for them to return, it's permission for you to move forward. Every time you let go of an offense, you loosen another chain the enemy tried to fasten to your soul. This is spiritual surgery, painful, precise, but necessary. Think of it like a forest after lightning strikes. The trees that survive stand stronger. The burned ones make room for new growth. The fire wasn't your fault, but it became your transformation. That's what this exposure has done. It burned away the false, so that only what's real remains. You may feel like there's nothing left to rebuild from, but look closer. Beneath the ashes, there's still soil, and it's richer now. The tears you've shed have watered it. The prayers you whispered through clenched teeth have fertilized it. And soon, something pure will rise from it. You, unshaken, When Joseph forgave his brothers, he didn't forget what they did. He simply refused to let their betrayal define his destiny. You are being called to do the same. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve freedom more than you deserve revenge. Now, as this chapter closes, let your spirit speak what your mouth struggles to say. Let the world and heaven both hear it. Comment, I release. Say it with understanding, not impulse. It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration of faith. When you type those two words, you're telling God, I choose peace over pain, purpose over proof. You're releasing every heavy thought, every unanswered question, every what if that has kept your heart chained. And in that release, something shifts. Heaven begins to breathe through the cracks of your brokenness. The same God who revealed the truth now begins to restore the tenderness in your spirit. The air feels different. The weight starts to lift. Forgiveness becomes not a task, but a triumph. Chosen one. This is the turning point. The storm has revealed everything it needed to. From here on, it's healing. Don't look back to confirm if they regret it. Don't wait for closure from those who can't give it. Closure is what God gives when you say, I release. Oh, and as those words leave your lips, heaven seals your healing. The chains fall quietly, and peace, real peace, takes their place. This is where freedom finally begins to breathe. Chosen one. Every storm leaves something behind: a branch broken, a roof shifted, a path rearranged. But it also leaves behind clear air. That's what you're standing in now, the air after the storm. It's lighter, sharper, almost holy. You can finally breathe again without the weight of suspicion pressing on your chest. The light hurts a little, but that's only because your eyes are adjusting to truth. You've survived exposure, endured heartbreak, and chosen release. That's no small thing. Heaven records what your heart has endured in silence. The angels saw the nights you prayed for strength when you wanted revenge. They saw you choose grace when bitterness seemed easier. You think no one noticed, but heaven noticed everything. And now, the shift has come. God is preparing to elevate you beyond the pain. But elevation always requires release, and preparation requires partnership. You see, God moves through willing hearts, and that's where your part begins. According to what is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 7, each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. That verse isn't just about money, it's about spirit. It's about choosing to respond to God's goodness with a willing heart, not obligation. You've already given so much through endurance. But now, heaven offers you an opportunity to transform gratitude into action. Think of your journey like a well of water in the desert. Every like is a pebble dropped into that well. It ripples outward, reaching unseen travelers. Every share is like releasing a white bird into the wind, carrying a spark of hope to someone who's forgotten how to dream. Every subscription is a promise to keep returning to the well, to drink again when the next word from heaven arrives. And every donation, it's not payment, it's pouring another jar of water into the well, ensuring it never runs dry for the souls who will come thirsty after you. None of this is required. It's invitation, not obligation. When you give, You're saying quietly, I believe in light. I want others to find what I've found. That's not a transaction, it's transformation. Maybe this message found you when your strength was running low. Maybe these words met you in the middle of a quiet breakdown and gave you just enough courage to face tomorrow. If they did, you already know the value of a single spark. When you share, you become a lantern in someone else's midnight. When you like, it's like striking flint against stone. Your small act sends light rippling outward. When you subscribe, you're choosing to walk beside this flame, keeping watch with others who refuse to let darkness win. And if your heart feels led, you can donate not to repay, but to replenish. Picture a river of light flowing through countless lives. Each gift, a ripple that pushes the current farther. Some ripples reach cities, others reach single hearts, but all flow toward eternity. Chosen one. This is not about funding a message, it's about feeding a mission. Together, we are the keepers of the lamp, the quiet ones who tend the fire while the world sleeps. And as long as one person believes, the light will not fade. So, if this message has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that you are seen, whole, and chosen, like, share, subscribe, or if your spirit feels peace, donate. Let it be your act of worship, your whisper of gratitude. No one is watching, only heaven keeps record. Your small act today may be the reason someone else finds light tomorrow. That's how grace travels quietly, beautifully, through hearts that choose to give freely. The lamp is still burning, the well still flows, the birds still fly, and somewhere out there, another soul is waiting for the glow that started with you. Keep the light moving, and as the light continues to move, you'll notice something shifting inside you. Giving doesn't empty you, it expands you. The more you release, the more heaven entrusts to your hands. That's the divine exchange, not loss, but multiplication of peace, clarity, and joy. Somewhere, someone will breathe easier because of your act of faith. Maybe they'll stumble upon this message in their own night of confusion and find the courage you once needed. You may never meet them, but the light you sustain will meet them first. So rest now. Chosen one, you've done your part. You've tended the flame faithfully. Let heaven handle the harvest that follows. The glow around you is proof you've become light yourself. Chosen one. Silence has a strange way of revealing what words could never explain. After everything, the exposure, the cleansing, the heartbreak, the release, there's a stillness that follows. It's not the quiet of emptiness, it's the quiet of alignment. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle steadiness inside. Like the ocean after a storm. The waves are smaller now, but deeper. This silence is sacred. It's where God teaches you how to hear again, not through noise, but through knowing. You've been speaking to heaven for so long. Now heaven begins to speak back. Not in thunder, but in whispers that sound like peace. The lesson of this season is not how to fight, but how to rest while God finishes what He started. You no longer have to search for proof of His hand. The evidence surrounds you in the calm, in the unexpected favor, in the simple fact that your heart still beats with hope. Once, your faith was survival. Now, it's stability. What used to shake you now shapes you. You've learned to stop asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Use me." That's maturity. When God rebuilds, He never restores things to how they were. He makes them better. What was stolen is returned multiplied. What was broken is rebuilt stronger. The scars remain, but they no longer ache. They testify. You are becoming living proof that pain can birth purpose. There's a scripture that fits this moment perfectly, as written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. And you are standing in that exchange right now. The ashes of betrayal are turning to beauty. The oil of joy is beginning to flow again. The garment of praise, the quiet confidence that only those who have endured can wear, is wrapping around your spirit. It's okay if you still feel the residue of sorrow. Healing isn't the absence of pain, it's the transformation of it. You've been remade in the fire. And the glow that others will soon see isn't glamour, it's resilience. Your eyes shine differently now, not because life is perfect, but because you've seen darkness and chosen to remain light. Think of gold. After refining it, never apologizes for its shine. It doesn't boast either. It simply reflects what the fire made possible. You are the same. The furnace you feared has revealed your true worth, and the hands that once trembled now know peace, because they've learned surrender. Sometimes, the greatest blessing isn't a new beginning, but the peace to stay still where you are. You've stopped running from pain and started walking with purpose. The wilderness that once confused you has become your classroom. Every delay taught you endurance. Every disappointment taught you discernment. Now, you can sense danger before it speaks and recognize peace before it arrives. There's a story whispered in the spirit about a woman named Adira. After betrayal shattered her family, she didn't rush to rebuild. Instead, she spent quiet months walking by the river, each dawn, saying nothing, just breathing. One morning, she realized the pain had dulled, not because it vanished, but because she had changed shape around it. She became wide enough, soft enough, strong enough to carry it without breaking. That's what's happening to you. God isn't erasing your past. He's expanding your capacity to live beyond it. Chosen one. What once defined you no longer does. You've outgrown the story that tried to contain you. The chapter that began in tears is now being written in triumph. You don't need closure. You've found calling. If you could see yourself the way heaven does right now, you'd understand why the battle had to be so fierce. The light inside you terrified the darkness around you. The exposure wasn't punishment. It was proof that God trusted you to survive the unveiling. And you did. So, breathe. You've crossed the midpoint of your journey. The wilderness is behind you. The promise is ahead. The worst is over. And the best has begun. You are no longer surviving. You are standing. And the ground beneath you is holy because it held both your pain and your perseverance. You've become the very evidence that grace is real. And it looks like this. Someone who went through fire and came out glowing, not burned. And as you stand there, breathing in the calm, heaven leans close and whispers, "This is what becoming feels like." The storm is behind you now. All that remains is peace, pure, earned, and entirely yours. Chosen one. Every healed wound tells a story. Some fade quietly, and others shine like silver threads stitched across your spirit. Yours gleam brighter now because they've been touched by truth. You are not the same person who entered the fire, you've been remade by it. The exposure broke what was false, and the healing rebuilt what was real. You've reached the stage where God begins to restore what you thought was lost. But this restoration is different. It's internal first. Before He gives you back what was taken, He gives you back yourself. The peace you feel now, it's not fragile. It's forged. It's the kind of calm that can't be stolen, because it's born of surrender. Sometimes, restoration doesn't look like return. It looks like redirection. God doesn't always send the same people back. He sends better ones. He doesn't always rebuild the same plans. He builds bigger ones. You're not circling back to the past. You're ascending into purpose. Every closed door was a stepping stone, not a setback. You can sense the shift, can't you? The heaviness that once clung to you has fallen away. You wake lighter, your thoughts clearer, your prayers steadier. That's not luck, it's renewal. The hand of God has rewritten your atmosphere, as revealed in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. And what powerful words! They mean that nothing truly disappears in the kingdom, it transforms. The years you thought were wasted have been woven into wisdom. The tears you thought were lost have watered your next season. Evan betrayal, when surrendered to God, becomes fertilizer for destiny. There's a story of a man named Levi, another chosen one. His sister's envy had nearly destroyed his peace. For months, he avoided her calls, tried to numb the ache. But healing didn't come through distance, it came through divine perspective. One night in prayer, Levi heard, "You were never fighting her, you were fighting the spirit that wanted to stop both of you." That revelation shifted everything. He forgave her, not because she asked, but because his freedom required it. And soon after, new doors opened, opportunities that had been locked for years. That's the mystery of forgiveness. It unlocks what bitterness buried. You are entering your own Joel moment. The years that felt devoured are about to bloom again. But this time, you'll walk with discernment. No more repeating cycles. No more blind trust in familiar faces. Your peace is too precious to gamble. Restoration is coming, in quiet ways, unexpected favor, divine connexion, strength returning to your hands. You'll start to notice small miracles, burdens suddenly lifting, prayers being answered without you speaking them aloud, clarity arriving where confusion used to reign. This is what it feels like when heaven reorders your life. You may still carry memories of pain, but even they are being rewritten. They no longer sting, they teach. They no longer accuse, they affirm. You survived what was meant to silence you. And now your voice carries weight in the spirit realm. When you speak peace, it manifests. When you pray for others, healing follows. That's the authority you gained through endurance. Chosen one. You're no longer defined by what broke you. You're defined by how you rebuilt. The mirror no longer shows a victim. It shows victory wrapped in humility. You've become a vessel that God can trust, a carrier of compassion forged through fire. Now heaven invites you to mark this moment, not as an ending, but as a covenant, a seal of renewal, a recognition that the cycle of loss is over and the era of restoration has begun. Comment, 888. And type it not as ritual, but as remembrance. That number symbolizes new beginnings birthed from completion. It's heaven's way of saying, you have passed the test. Now watch me multiply. When you write it, let your spirit whisper, I'm ready for renewal. It's more than numbers on a screen. It's an act of alignment. A way to say, I'm stepping into abundance without fear. End of chapter. As you though, something in the unseen begins to stir. The same hands that stripped away now start to supply. The same light that exposed now begins to exalt. You've graduated from battle into blessing. Chosen one. Restoration doesn't always make noise. It flows like gentle rain after drought. You'll see it in peace, returning to your mornings. Laughter, finding its way back into your days. You'll see it when you realize you no longer flinch at the memory of betrayal, but smile knowing it couldn't stop you. You've been through revelation, confrontation, and cleansing. Now comes replenishment. Heaven has seen your tears, your prayers, your obedience, and now, your reward. You're not just restored, you're recommissioned. Chosen one. Peace, after warfare, feels unfamiliar at first. When you've lived too long in survival mode, calm can seem suspicious, almost too quiet to trust. But this stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the rhythm of divine order returning. You're standing in the middle of restoration, and heaven is reteaching you how to live without fear. You don't need to look over your shoulder anymore. The season of ambush is over. The traps set against you have collapsed under their own weight. The same mouths that once spoke against you are now silent, and the silence itself is confirmation that heaven has intervened. What once hunted you is now history. What once drained you is now dissolved. This is the stage of renewal where God rebuilds the heart, not the image. He's teaching you how to exist beyond reaction, how to enjoy what you prayed for without waiting for it to disappear. You've been trained by turbulence, but now you're being led by peace. As spoken through the book of Zechariah, chapter 9, verse 12, return to your fortress, you prisoners of hope. Even now I announce that I will restore twice as much to you. That verse is your reflection now. Hope that once felt like captivity has become your shield. You never stopped believing, even when belief felt foolish. You never stopped hoping, even when hope hurt. That's why heaven calls you prisoner of hope, because even chained to sorrow, your faith refused to die. And now, that hope is being rewarded. Look closely at your surroundings. Notice how the small things are changing. The same places that once drained you now feel neutral or even light. Conversations that used to pierce your spirit no longer carry weight. That's healing in motion. You're being untangled from invisible ties, freed from emotional debts you didn't even know you were paying. You may still wonder if your sister, the one whose envy started this storm, has faced her own reckoning. She has. But her story is no longer yours to carry. You've graduated from needing to know outcomes. That's maturity to trust that God handles justice without needing your supervision. He's teaching you how to walk forward without glancing back to see if revenge followed. There's a depth that comes only through restraint. Every time you wanted to defend yourself but stayed silent, heaven documented it as strength. Every moment you chose forgiveness over fury, you shifted something in the unseen. You've been planting seeds of mercy, and now the harvest looks like peace. Imagine a field once burned by fire, the ground blackened, the trees hollow, the air filled with smoke. It looks lifeless for a season, but beneath the ash, nutrient forme. Soon, small green shoots appear, stronger than before, nourished by what was destroyed. That's what's happening to you. The ruin became your soil. The tears became your rain. And now, new life is sprouting from the same ground that once broke you. Your peace will confuse those who expected you to crumble. They won't understand how you still smile, how you still serve, how you still glow. But you'll know the fire didn't consume you, it crowned you. You've become living proof that grace turns ashes into beauty. In this part of your journey, God often speaks through subtle signs. A door opens quietly. A message arrives at the right time. A stranger says something that feels like confirmation. Don't rush these moments. Gather them like small pearls. They are reminders that heaven still walks with you. You might feel like your story has slowed down. But this pause isn't stagnation, it's sacred timing. The ground must rest before the next planting. God is not delaying, He's deepening. He's preparing you for expansion that requires stronger roots. Chosen one, take joy in the mundane again. Let laughter be your new weapon. Let gratitude become your armor. Not everything has to be a battle. Some seasons are meant for breathing. You've earned the right to rest without guilt. You've fought hard, loved deeply, endured silently. Now, let the gentle rhythms of restoration wash over you. And when doubt tries to creep in, remember, the same God who exposed what was hidden also preserves what is holy. He doesn't rebuild halfway. He finishes what He begins. You are not halfway healed. You are wholly His, being completed in His timing. This peace is not temporary. It's permanent because it's internal. You no longer depend on circumstances to feel steady. You've anchored your identity in something that doesn't shift with seasons. And that's why this new chapter will last. It's built on truth, not illusion. Chosen one. Stay rooted in this calm. What's ahead requires this stillness. You've walked through the storm. Now you're learning how to live in sunlight again. Don't rush it. Let joy grow slowly, like morning light creeping through the window, soft, sure, unstoppable, chosen one. After the light returns, life doesn't rush back all at once. It unfolds quietly, like dawn filtering through curtains, one soft ray at a time. You begin to notice color again in places that once felt gray. The air feels lighter. Your steps sound softer. Healing, it turns out, is not an event. It's a rhythm. You're learning that peace has a pulse, and it beats differently when your heart finally stops bracing for pain. You are now in the season of restoration, where God turns survival into stability. He isn't just patching what was torn, He's redesigning it. The life He's building for you won't look like the old one. It will carry new architecture, stronger beams of faith, wider rooms of grace, windows open to vision instead of fear. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Oh, you've sown enough tears to fill rivers, and heaven, being just, never wastes what pain plants. Every tear that fell in private became seed in spiritual soil. The harvest is approaching, not as revenge, but as redemption. Your laughter will return, not the cautious kind that hides behind worry, but the free, unguarded kind that only the delivered can understand. There's a moment in every chosen one's journey where the memory of pain no longer stings, it sings. You're reaching that moment now. The very story that once felt like your ruin will soon become your reason. You'll speak it without trembling, because the wound has become wisdom. What used to hurt now teaches. What used to break now builds. You'll find yourself remembering your sister, the one who betrayed you, not with anger, but with distance, like a chapter already read. The emotion drains away, leaving only clarity. You no longer crave apologies. You no longer need explanations. Forgiveness has matured into freedom. You finally understand that letting go wasn't about her. It was about reclaiming your peace. Sometimes, the hardest part of healing is accepting that not everyone comes with you into the new season. Some relationships were divine for a time, but destructive for a lifetime. God removes what no longer aligns, not to punish, but to preserve. You've learned this the hard way, but now you know how to protect your peace without guilt. You start noticing miracles in the mundane. The coffee tastes richer. The sky looks wider. Silence feels friendly. You find joy in ordinary mornings, because your spirit no longer searches for threats. You realize that the absence of chaos isn't emptiness, it's evidence of growth. Think of yourself as a tree after winter. The bark is rougher, the branches pruned, but life hums quietly beneath. Spring doesn't rush, it trusts its timing. When buds begin to bloom, they don't question whether they deserve sunlight. They simply open. You are that tree now, opening again, breathing again. Every scar you carry has turned into a map. It reminds you where God met you, where He carried you, and where He refined you. That map will guide you as you step into your next calling, not as a victim of betrayal, but as a vessel of light. Heaven is proud of you. That may sound strange, but it's true. You've walked through trials that could have hardened you, yet you chose tenderness. You've been wounded by family, yet you chose forgiveness. You've been silenced by lies, yet you chose truth. That's holiness in motion, not perfection, but persistence. Chosen one. Let gratitude become your language now. Not because everything is easy, but because everything is purposeful. The same God who allowed the breaking also designed the rebuilding. You are living proof that endurance produces beauty. And as you walk forward, may your peace speak louder than your past. May your presence feel like sunrise to those who once knew you in shadow. Because this is your new identity, not the broken one, not the betrayed one, but the rebuilt one. You are the evidence that grace is stronger than grief. So walk gently now. You don't need to prove you've healed. Your calm already says it. Every quiet breath is testimony. Every unforced smile is worship. You've become fluent in peace, and it speaks louder than any defense ever could. Soon, people will ask how you made it through, and you'll smile and say, by grace, not because it's cliché, but because it's true. You didn't escape the fire, you walked through it, and somehow, the flames became light. That's the mystery of God's mercy. It refines, but it never consumes. Chosen one. The silence has passed, and what remains is golden clarity. The veil that once blurred your vision is gone. You can finally see your own reflection without distortion, not through guilt, not through grief, but through grace. The light around you no longer feels harsh, it feels holy. And now, heaven begins to whisper about your next season, not survival, not recovery, but vindication. You've been misunderstood, thwarted, and mislabeled. You've walked through shadows carrying truth that few believed. But God is a master storyteller, and He is now turning the page in front of your enemies and your witnesses alike. This isn't revenge, it's revelation. The same mouths that once gossiped will soon speak blessings over your name, not because you demanded it, but because the evidence of your endurance cannot be denied. As written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. That's the heartbeat of your journey. Perseverance wasn't just waiting, it was worship. Each time you kept quiet when you could have fought back. Each time you chose peace when you had the right to rage. Heaven counted it as faith. And now, faith is about to produce fruit. Vindication doesn't always come in applause. Sometimes it comes in serenity, in opportunities that open effortlessly, in peace that feels like a crown resting on your soul. But as this new light expands, it calls for partnership, not control. Not demand partnership, because light is a living thing. It breathes through those who tend to it. The message you're hearing now, this voice that met you in your valley, it exists because others before you poured oil into the flame. They didn't just watch the light, they chose to sustain it. Think of it this way. Somewhere in the night, a candle was burning for you long before you found it. Someone shared, someone supported, someone believed. Their act of faith kept this light alive until you arrived. And now, that same flame is in your hands. Every time you like this message, it's as if you're placing a tiny mirror before the flame, helping it shine a little farther, reflecting light into corners it hasn't reached yet. Each like is your silent amen to heaven's glow. When you share, it's like opening a window in a dark room, letting the glow spill into someone else's storm. Each subscription is you choosing to keep walking alongside this light, allowing heaven's words to continue shaping your days. And if your heart feels peace while hearing this, you can donate not as a payment, but as a poetic gesture, like adding oil to the lamp that once guided you home. Your giving is not a transaction, it's participation in divine continuity. You're helping the flame remain steady for another soul who hasn't yet found their way through the dark. Your kindness becomes legacy. Your faith becomes a bridge. Every like, every share, every subscription, every quiet donation, and even your comment, "Shine on," becomes part of the architecture of hope, stones stacked carefully by unseen hands to build sanctuaries for weary hearts. You're not helping an idea, you're nourishing a living ministry of healing. Chosen one, you owe nothing, but you can offer everything that flows from gratitude. When love fuels it, even the smallest act carries the fragrance of eternity. God doesn't measure amounts, He measures alignment. He blesses what's done in peace, not pressure. And when you give light, you never lose it, you multiply it. Just as one candle can ignite 1,000 without dimming itself, your willingness keeps heaven's fire spreading. Each act of generosity becomes a flame that travels farther than sight. touching hearts you'll never meet, rewriting stories you'll never hear, but all of them tracing back to this moment, your moment of choosing to keep the glow alive. So if this word has touched you, like if the light reached you, share if you wish this dawn to touch another soul's window. Subscribe to stay close to the stream of revelation. Comment, shine on, as your soft declaration that you, too, carry the flame. And if your spirit feels peace, donate as an act of worship, pouring oil into the lamp that once guided you home. Chosen one, this is what vindication feels like, not thunder or applause, but light expanding quietly, beautifully, unstoppable. You have become proof that perseverance produces radiance. What began in secrecy now ends in glory. And as you stand beneath heaven's gentle spotlight, remember this: you were never just surviving the dark, you were learning how to carry dawn. And as you stand beneath heaven's gentle spotlight, remember this: you were never just surviving the dark, you were learning how to carry dawn. Chosen one, after the light of vindication comes the quiet of realization. You start to see that everything had purpose, not just the pain, but the pauses. Every detour that frustrated you was divine choreography. God was never late, he was deliberate. Timing wasn't your punishment, it was your protection. You weren't being overlooked, you were being preserved. This is the stage of wisdom, where understanding begins to bloom. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You ask, "What did it teach me?" That shift marks maturity. You see now that every heartbreak carved capacity, every disappointment expanded discernment. The waiting that once felt endless has now become a sanctuary where you learned how to hear heaven clearly. As written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." You trusted, even when trust felt blind. You kept walking through fog that refused to lift. And now that the light has returned, you can see what God was building beneath your feet all along. The bridge wasn't missing, it was under construction. When you look back, you'll see patterns in what once felt like chaos. You'll notice how God used rejection as redirection, how he turned silence into safety, how the loss that shattered you also shaped you into someone too strong to settle again. The things that once humiliated you are now the very things that make you humble and holy. There's a peace that comes only after understanding, a peace that feels like finally exhaling after years of holding your breath. That's where you are now. You no longer chase closure, because you've realized you already have it. The truth was never outside of you. It was always growing quietly inside your obedience. Think of a river that once flooded, carving deep channels through the land. After the storm passes, those same channels become the path where fresh water flows. That's how your spirit looks right now, shaped by struggle, but ready to carry living water. The flood was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to make room for abundance. In this new season, you find yourself less reactive, more reflective. You no longer rush to respond. You pause. You discern. You breathe. That pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. You've learned that peace doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means you're no longer a prisoner to chaos. You've learned to let the storm rage without letting it inside of you. You may notice that God is restoring small joys. First, the laughter you forgot, the dreams you left behind, the desire to create, to give, to love. without fear. These are the gentle signs that healing has settled deep. You no longer need to prove your strength through resistance. Now you show it through rest. The same voice that called you out of darkness now begins to call you into destiny. And it sounds different. It's no longer urgent. It's intimate. You hear him not as a commander, but as a companion. The one who once led you through battle now walks beside you in peace. That's how you know transformation is complete, when the same presence that fought for you now simply rests with you. There's beauty in this stillness. It's the kind of quiet that hums with possibility. You wake up with no fear of who will betray you next. No need to defend your name. No weight of waiting for the next wound. You've entered the unshakable kind of calm, the one that comes from knowing that even if the storm returns, you've already learned how to sail. Chosen one, take this stillness seriously. Protect it like sacred ground. You fought long and hard to earn it, and it is not fragile, it's fortified. Your peace is now your proof, your crown, your shield. When people look at you and ask, "How did you survive all that?" you'll smile softly and say, "I stopped fighting what was never mine to win." And in that sentence lies the wisdom of your entire journey. You've discovered that surrender was never defeat, it was deliverance. What once looked like breaking was actually birthing. What once looked like loss was the beginning of life. The journey is nearly complete now. You've walked from exposure to endurance, from heartbreak to holiness. And what remains is the most sacred reward of all, the ability to stand still, unshaken, in the presence of peace. And as peace settles deeper, you'll realize it's not a moment, it's a mantle. You wear it now, effortlessly, like light on your skin. The war is over, and stillness has become your song. Chosen one, this final stretch feels different, not heavy, not hurried, but holy. The air itself carries softness now, as if heaven exhales when you do. You've been through the unraveling, the exposure, the cleansing, the restoration. Each step stripped something away until only truth remained. And now, standing here, you realize that survival was never the goal. Transformation was. Everything that once terrified you has become testimony. Every dark night you thought would destroy you has turned into a constellation that guides others. You've become the evidence that endurance births elegance, that brokenness and beauty can coexist in one vessel. What you thought disqualified you has become the very thing God uses to qualify you for what's next. As revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Not. Now you can see it, all of it. The divine thread running through the chaos, stitching moments together with mercy. Nothing was wasted. Even betrayal became blueprint. Even silence was strategy. Every unanswered prayer was protection wearing disguise. The war between light and darkness wasn't just around you, it was within you. But now the war is quiet, because you've chosen the side of peace. The same light that once revealed pain now reveals power. It's no longer about what they did, it's about who you became. Think of your journey like a tapestry viewed from behind. For years, all you could see were knots and tangled threads, and it looked meaningless. But now God turns it over, and suddenly, the pattern makes sense. The mess wasn't random, it was the underside of something magnificent being woven in secret. You are the finished pattern now, The chaos that once surrounded you has taken shape as divine design. The tears, the patience, the moments of silence, they were all stitches in eternity's fabric. Heaven didn't just rescue you, it revealed you. In this moment of completion, peace no longer feels like an emotion, it feels like identity. You've stopped striving to become something because you finally understand that you already are. Chosen, sealed, sustained. The fight has turned into flow. You walk differently now, not because the road is smoother, but because your steps are synchronized with grace. There's a tenderness to this part of the journey. It's the way the morning feels after a long storm, everything damp but clean. Fragile, yet full of life. The world hasn't changed. You have. You see beauty where you once saw danger. Lessons where you once saw loss. You no longer pray out of panic, but out of partnership. Some days will still bring echoes of the past, a memory, a voice, a scent. But even those reminders can't wound you anymore. They serve as markers, not chains. You glance at them and smile, not with pride, but with peace. You've outgrown the weight that once crushed you. Chosen one. Understand this, the purpose of exposure was never punishment, it was preparation for illumination. You were not called to hide. You were called to shine with understanding. Now that truth has done its work, it no longer burns, it warms. It no longer shatters, it shapes. This is what divine maturity looks like, walking in light without needing to prove it, holding peace without needing to announce it, carrying wisdom without demanding to be seen. You've become a living sanctuary. A quiet miracle clothed in stillness. People will feel calm near you without knowing why, and that calm will be your ministry. When you wake tomorrow, it won't feel like an ending. It will feel like continuation, because chosen ones never stop becoming. Every sunrise will remind you that the story keeps unfolding, and heaven still writes through your willingness. The sister who betrayed you, she was never the story's focus. She was the doorway through which God led you into revelation. Without her wound, you would not have found this wisdom. Without the storm, you would not have learned how to stand in sunlight. What once came to harm you has now bowed to heal you. You've completed the circle exposure. Endurance, forgiveness, peace. This is not where the journey stops, it's where it stabilizes. From now on, your steps will be quieter, but heavier with meaning. Every move you make will echo in eternity, because it comes from alignment, not anxiety. Chosen one, you have walked through shadow and flame and emerged golden. You have nothing left to prove, nothing left to fear, and nothing left to lose. You have only truth to live, love to give, and light to carry. And now, the story rests not as an ending, but as a beginning without urgency. The dawn you once longed for has arrived, and this time, it's staying. Chosen one. Take one deep breath. This is the moment when heaven stands still and watches you exhale everything that has ever tried to bury your light. You've walked the long road through betrayal, revelation, forgiveness, and peace, and now you stand, crowned not in gold, but in understanding. You've seen what truth costs, and still, you've chosen it. That choice makes you unstoppable. The story doesn't end here, it transforms. The same light that carried you through darkness now shines from within you. You are no longer the one waiting for deliverance. You've become the messenger of it. And somewhere out there, someone needs the hope you now carry. So, if this journey has stirred something sacred inside you, like this message, not out of habit, but as your quiet way of saying, "The light found me," when you share, imagine releasing a lantern into the night sky, one small glow joining thousands, guiding other wandering souls home. When you subscribe, it isn't just staying connected, it's choosing to walk together in a circle of light that never fades. And if your heart feels peace, you may donate not as duty, but as devotion. Picture it as pouring one last drop of oil into a lamp that keeps shining for those still lost at sea. Every offering, every gesture, every spark keeps this flame alive, reaching places even your voice can't go. Before you go, leave a sign that you've been here. Comment, "I carry the light." Write it as a declaration, not for me, but for heaven. Let those words echo through time, marking this moment when your light met its purpose. It's not performance, it's promise. It tells the unseen world, "I'm still shining, and I will not go dim." Oh, the journey has come full circle. You were found, refined, and now radiant. Go live as proof that grace not only saves, it transforms. Your dawn is not coming, it's here.